I was thinking of a different game. That or the game title, the game cover looks different, but no, this looks awesome, actually.
I know, dude. I'm very excited. I think there's a lot of potential there.
Okay, so you say Mass Effect 5 is confirmed, right?
Yeah, they're making it.
Are-
That's
are
what
they
BioWare
calling
is
it-
working on now.
Do you think they'll call it 5, or do you think they'll call it 4?
Ooh, I don't know about 4. They could though. I think it'll just be its own thing.
Yeah, you think they'll? Stand
However,
apart from-
Liara was in the teaser trailer for it though.
Okay. See, I didn't
So
even-
maybe, I don't know. Look up Mass Effect 5. There is a
That's what I'm-
teaser trailer for it, and then there is like a little 30-minute snippet that they released on Mass Effect Day last year or something like that.
Okay, yeah, I see the official teaser trailer, the next Mass Effect.
Yeah, it was.
Okay,
It actually
yeah.
closed the
Liara's
show.
Liara's literally the thumbnail.
Yeah. They might call it 4. Honestly, I never thought about that. They could.
I mean, they do live longer than humans, so God knows when this is set.
Yeah. All I know is it probably won't be Shepard, though. I can almost guarantee you that.
Yeah. Again, I don't know the end of 3 yet, so I don't.
Well, I don't know if Shepard dies or not. I'm just saying, like, I don't
think
there would be
so,
Shepard
based off
again.
of some things I have heard, but
Yeah. It just doesn't seem like it makes much sense for me, I guess. All right. Let me know in chat if everybody's good.
let me try to pull you back up.
I apologize. Don't know what happened. That's never happened before during a podcast. Shout out to OBS for popping up a notification. I would.
There's your beautiful face and my okay looking face.
Man, stop that.
Nah, man, I gotta hype you up.
Nah, I appreciate it. Gotta hype yourself
Gotta
up then.
There's our beautiful faces.
Thank you.
What if Liara's the main character?
Dude, I would be so down for that, actually. But then you already know there's gonna be a lot of complaints that you can't create.
But
your
then
own
no
character.
character creation.
Yeah, I don't think
see,
they would do that.
You can't take that away from us. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do. I really don't.
interesting. Okay,
Yeah, we'll see.
I'm hyped now though, especially
know.
now that I've got God, this was 4 years ago. This
Yeah.
teaser trailer.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Now that the Veil Guards come out, all their attention is on that. So
I'm hyped.
very excited. Yeah, I'm
Okay,
I'm way more
anyway.
hyped now that I've played Veil Guard, and I'm like, okay, I'm excited. All right, everybody good? I think we're good. I think we're ready to go. So let's get talking. So top 10 franchise of all time with some honorable mentions. I'm gonna go first, and kicking off my top 10. And see, when I went into this list, I thought, what are franchises that define me? What are franchises that if they were announced a new game, I would be instantly top 10 most anticipated game? You know, if there were collector's editions, posters, would I hang it in my room? You know, is it a franchise I can genuinely call something I love and adore? And a big part of that sometimes comes out of a genre. When I think, okay, this is my favorite franchise of this genre, that makes me appreciate that franchise more. And I feel like this is one of those moments. My favorite first-person shooter of all time is Titanfall 2.
Okay.
And Titanfall is a franchise I would literally get on my knees and cry for if Titanfall 3 was announced. It is a franchise I think is super duper underlooked. And I just love its concept. It's Call of Duty, but with giant mechs. And it's futuristic done right. Unlike stupid Advanced Warfare and Infinite Warfare and crap like that. It actually feels right, and it's super duper dope, and it's super duper awesome. It's low-key like EA at some of its best. And I think Titanfall is just really awesome. I think just purely that's it. It's super awesome. It's super fun. It has a lot of meaning to me because it is my favorite first-person shooter of all time. I almost like in a way say like that is the game that made me actually want to try to get good at games, because like when I was in my Black Ops 2 days or when I played Black Ops 2, but like I was never worried about getting to prestige. I would just load in custom games and do a whole bunch of stupid and fun stuff and crap like that, or I would go to zombies or play campaign. Whereas like Titanfall 2 came out, and that was the moment I'm like, bro, I want to get as high level as possible in this game. So I like locked in, and like that was the moment where I was like, okay, I see what the hype is. You know what I mean? So
Sure.
Titanfall really does have a huge effect on me. I just think the only reason it's not higher is the fact that it kind of has fallen off a little bit because it is dead. I mean, it's a dead franchise right now. And Apex kind of ruined it. But, you know, it is what it is. And there was a moment where, like, the servers were completely taken over by hackers and you couldn't even, like, go into games. And so that kind of, like, left a bad taste in my mouth. But I still love the game. There's no denying how much I would cry if a third one was announced. I would be a little bit questionable on the quality of the third one if it was announced. But I would still be excited no matter what.
Sure.
Just because, I mean, it's a sequel to one of my favorite games ever. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So that opens up my top 10 list.
Okay. So mine, I was gonna say it feels more obligation, but it doesn't. The more and more I kind of thought about it, because it almost made my way in like a couple parts of the list. I was wondering if I should, like where I should tuck it. And I felt 10 was appropriate. I've been playing these games since the 90s.
Oh boy, it's
here. And they haven't been as good to me for the last good couple of years, of course. But in the number 10 spot, squeaking its way in purely off of young and teenage me mostly, and like kind of early 20s me, is the Madden franchise.
Oh wow, okay, that's not where I thought you were going at all. Wow. Yep. All right, that was not where I thought you were going at all. Okay.
What did you think I was gonna go with?
I'll get there. We'll get there later because I'm pretty positive it's on your list.
Okay, cool.
And it has the same kind of story that you just said. You liked it back then, but you haven't been a fan of it recently.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So that's the Madden franchise for me. Number 10, like I said, I've been playing these games since the 90s whenever I didn't know what I was doing when I was playing them, to sort of starting to understand what I was doing. And like Madden 2002 was probably the first one that like I really sort of hit my knack for like knowing kind of how to play the game mechanically. And Madden 22, shout out Dante Culpepper. He was the one on the cover of that one. Good old legend Dante Culpepper.
Bojax.
And yeah, they got worse and worse a little bit as they sort of went on. I'll say I've played every single one of them all the way throughout the years. I don't own every one. I haven't bought the last 3.
That's a lot of games.
But I have owned every one except for the last 3. All that much I didn't. I just sort of played 24 and 25 a little bit. I will say, as far as just playing the game, it's fun. It's fun enough. It's something sort of just decent to pop on every now and then if you just sort of feel like playing something simulated to just sort of get through 45 minutes or so. So I still think they're fun enough and serve their purpose. I just don't think there's anything exterior from them anymore that makes them fun. Franchises aren't near as fun. Career modes aren't near as fun in them. But as far as just as playing a football simulator game, it still does its job. But like 2000 to like the 2K, 2013 era for me was like, dude, just like peak Madden gameplay for me. Just that stretch of like preteen me all the way up to like early 20s. Just man, Madden was so good. So it plops its way into my number 10 spot.
Hey, that's like one of the only sports game I actually play. I love Madden. Not because I think it's like it's an amazing game or anything. It's just it's so addicting and it's fun.
2K is kind of the same way too, but like a lot of stuff is jumped around with 2K for me. Like the NBA live games were also really fun and competitive with me for a while too, jumping back and forth.
Yeah.
So I kind of thought about doing those too. But like Madden's like been the franchise, so like I didn't want to mix like 2K with live, with NBA Street, with all the other ones.
I know, I agree with that. Like, yeah, when you look at like WWE games, when you look at like NBA games, when you look at like MLB, it's kind of like transition from franchise to franchise over the years. Whereas like Madden's been there since day one, and it's still here today. Like that has always been the football game. So. Yeah,
there was ESPN NFL 2K25 that came out in 2004. That was also really good. But that franchise died right after that game. So
I mean, there's like NFL Blitz on like some of the really old consoles, but
and then NFL Street and stuff. There's a couple one-offs, but this was the only other like football simulation.
Madden has not wavered.
Type.
Pretty much what I'm saying.
So yeah, but anywho,
very solid, very solid. Not what I was expecting, but I respect it. All right, my next one, coming in at number 9. It is Gears of War. Now I will say some of these franchises on this list can definitely be moved around. I could see a world where I put it below Titanfall. I could see a world where I put it higher. I do think it's on the top 10 list, purely based off of all those reasons I've talked about. Like, what would I be excited for? What would I hang on my wall? Like, what collector's edition would I buy? What am I excited for? How do I feel about games currently? And for me, Gears of War, yes, it has definitely been reignited this year with the announcement of E-Day, but I just genuinely love the franchise so much because I do think it is my favorite Xbox franchise. When it comes to characters, when it comes to the world, when it comes to like how good all the games are, like Gears of War kind of is that Uncharted in a way where I feel like every game is super special in its own right. Maybe with the exception of 5. I feel like 5 definitely is its lowest point in my opinion. And I feel like everybody has a different favorite game in the franchise too, which is like another thing that you kind of have to give it credit for. Like mine is 4. I feel like I'm in the complete minority. I'm in like the 2%.
See, and I actually didn't. I didn't play any of past 3. So
yeah, and so and this has also been a franchise that has come a long way, and it's been here for a very long time.
Yeah.
But when it's really simple. There's nothing I can really say that hasn't already been said about Gears or that like will make you like more sold on the franchise or anything. It's just it has everything you want. Fun gameplay, interesting world. It's always exciting when it comes out. The story's great. It's just a lot of great stuff. To me, like if I had a blank room and I was like, okay, I can only have like one poster from a game from every company on the wall, my Xbox One would be a Gears of War poster. I mean, whether we're talking about just the iconicness, like with the chainsaw gun, or like just Marcus Phoenix and that dang bandana he always wears. Like there's just so many great things. Also, just the memories of me playing it are very just nice to think about. Like I remember Gears of War 4 was the first one I played in a way because I got it for Christmas, and inside the Gears of War 4 case was a code to redeem the first 3, and I remember playing 4 and like not even 30 minutes into the game, Loki was a little like 11-year-old me capping. I like ran to my parents. I'm like, thank you. It's like my favorite game of all time. Like, because it was so fun. Like, it was just so fun. I just remember running, bullets flying everywhere, ducking behind cover, shooting, and I get a chainsaw this dude. I'm like, and I did it, and I was like, I ran to my parents. I'm like, thank you. It's like my favorite game of all time. And I immediately downloaded the other 3, and then I was like, oh man. And then coming back to it, like this year, replaying 1 and 2. I'm gonna be doing 3 this year. Then 4 as well, and then 5. And just seeing the hype for E-Day just makes you realize how, like, special Gears is to Xbox. It may not be as popular to Halo. It may not be as, like, revolutionary in terms of, like, Halo, but I think there is an argument to be made of the quality of it. I think you can make the argument that Gears of War is a more successful franchise than Halo, especially when we're comparing recency, because Halo hasn't necessarily been the most successful thing in a hot minute. But
Neither is Gears of War.
I mean, true. I mean, technically, Gears 5 was nominated for Game of the Year, so you know, you could take that how it is, but I don't know. There's definitely a debate between what is better or what's more appreciated, but yeah, for me, Gears of War, Gears of War special. Yeah, that comes in at 9.
All right, cool. My number 9 is another one. This one only was alive
Mario
pretty
Brothers
much during my youth. Was only alive during my youth. It's one that adapted into another franchise later, so they're no longer called these. So it's particular this era of game when they were called these titles. It is the SmackDown versus Raw era of wrestling games.
Good one. Yep, it's the best era of wrestling games. Facts.
Yeah, 100%.
1,000%.
Like 06, 07, I feel like were the last years for me where the games were like all that interesting to me.
Actually,
personally.
my favorite was SmackDown versus Raw 2011. That was my favorite. I love that one.
Yeah, see, I after like the 06, 07 era, like I just really got out of them. They were not fun for me. They just were. I don't know. A lot of the stories were kind of like forced with the characters versus like your created person story. Okay. I didn't like that direction that they sort of took with it for a while. That or like your created story person would be like really boring. I just didn't love that. I thought they did a much better job with that earlier. Even though like the game was more simplified, like you just played your person and did things with your person. Mm-hmm. Like that's just how it was. Now I do feel like, and it's taken this long, I really enjoyed 2K24.
I'm gonna say the recent ones have been pretty solid.
Yeah, I didn't like 23 or 22. I feel like I played like 19 and 20 maybe, and like was like, they're not too bad. 20, yeah, I did not like 22 or 23. I was not a fan, but 24 is actually really fun. I put like 20 some odd hours into that one, had a blast.
25's coming out in like 2 months.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
It's a Cena cover, I think, isn't it?
It's gonna be Roman Reigns this year.
Is it? Okay.
They like just announced it They just announced it Monday. There's no like trailer or anything, but on Monday was the Raw premiere on Netflix, and they had like a backstage promo where like Roman Reigns just won a match, and they went up to him and was like, "How do you want to announce your celebration on the biggest platform?" And he was like, "January 28th." And without any context, he like walks into a room, he closes the door, and on the back of the door, it says 2K25, and so it's pretty likely that he's the cover of 25.
It's the cheesiest thing I've ever heard.
Hey, you gotta love it. You gotta love it.
I love it though. Okay.
I know.
Hopefully it's good, but yeah. So that SmackDown versus Raw era of those games, just to put it simply, the soundtracks on those games earlier on, bro, dude, just put it into like perspective. You just simply the one where you're like walking around like your apartment or whatever, and you have like your laptop and like your customization thing where like your awards and stuff was like, that was just something that I wish games would do a little more. Useless thing. They provide nothing necessarily for the game mechanics itself. But like that was just a fun little tidbit that I wish more games like would just do little silly things like that for games to bring it back to a little more in depth into the simulation of if this is your character. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just kind of feel like they put that on the back burner, kind of like how sports games have. I feel like the franchise modes in a lot of games, solo modes, story mode type stuff, just really took a kind of a back seat, or they're just too much of a production.
I mean,
and they're cheesy.
I blame that we're just in such an online era that they just focus on those features.
It's ruined the basketball story games for me.
Yeah.
For sure.
But yeah.
But anyway, yeah.
All right. Moving on to number 8.
Yep.
This one's kind of the same lane as Titanfall in the fact that like it's like my go-to for this genre, and it's one that is like so dead, but like the moment life is back into it, I'm gonna like start crying, and that is Splinter Cell. Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell.
Okay.
It is easily my favorite stealth game. It is it dang near the only stealth game I've ever played where I'm like, God, this stealth feels so like it generally is the only game where I'm like, oh, I can't wait to see how I do stealth next time. Like, it feels so good. Now, granted, I've barely played Metal Gear games. I've played Metal Gear 5. I think that game is awesome. But to me, I still love Splinter Cell way more. Splinter Cell, man, it is... I mean, I compare it to John Wick all the time. You just feel like such a BA, man. Like, you just feel so good when playing it. Like, there are so many games in the franchise.
I never played.
I have all 6 games. There might even be 7. I have every game physically right there on my rack over there. I love the franchise. And the thing is, you can go on Metacritic and look at reviews. Every game in the franchise is either high 80s or above 90. It is a franchise that is decorated, respected, and it is so good. Everybody makes jokes because Ubisoft's like down in the dumps right now. Everybody, I saw a screenshot on Twitter the other day or like, it was not the other day, like last year. It was a picture of Ubisoft stock when Splinter Cell Blacklist came out, which is the most popular one. And then there was a picture of the stock today for Ubisoft, and it was just miles different. And everyone was like, see, this is what happens when you actually make the games people want you to make. And then here's what happens when you don't. Right. And it was just fun. Now, granted, that picture, that's super unrealistic because we're in a completely different time. You know what I mean? But like,
sure.
It's just funny because Splinter Cell genuinely is probably the most like flawless franchise Ubisoft has. Like, it's definitely not the biggest. Like, Assassin's Creed is 100% the biggest. Far Cry is dang near even bigger. But like, there have been mishaps. There have been low points in all those franchises. There has not been a low point in Splinter Cell outside the fact that it's dead. That's it. That's its only low point. Is the fact that they haven't made a game. And the only thing we have for it is they announced they're remaking the first one, and we haven't heard about that in like half a decade. So who knows where that is? Yeah, but Splinter Cell, man, it's so awesome. It's just a feel-good thing. Like, I don't know. It's just a game that it just, every time I think about it, every time I feel like playing it, it just gets me super duper excited because it's just such a cool, fun game. Love it.
Cool. Good deal, man.
Yep.
My number 8 is one that I have been
another
playing since
sports
the third release. Since the third release game.
Wait.
I didn't play the first 2. But I've played basically every title since. There's been a couple of like knockoff ones that I haven't played that they've put out. But it's the Grand Theft Auto series.
Mm.
So I've been playing since 3. I've played Vice City, San Andreas 4 and 5. I didn't play like Liberty City Stories or sort of any of the other sort of ones that I think there was one more one-off one that they put out that I didn't play. 5 is probably my favorite after all this time, with San Andreas being a close second. But those games are something to me. To this day, I go back and play GTA 5 story at least once a year. I did try to go back and play the trilogy whenever they put that out, and I'm just awful at the older games now. It's like going back and trying to play certain games that you're just so used to the way the mechanics are like adapted into later games. And like, I went back and tried to play San Andreas, and I was terrible. I was so bad. Like, it was fine. I got the hang of it after a while, but I felt awful trying to play it. But I have such a deep respect for how many hours I've sunk into those games. Because I mean, that was probably one of the first games I would turn on and like play for like 6 hours, and like it was nothing. Yeah, and then I go to a friend's house on the weekend, and we do a mission, pass the controller, do a mission, pass the controller, do a mission, pass the controller. You know what I mean? Like that was Grand Theft Auto, like especially the San Andreas era. The San Andreas release era, like me and a couple of buddies, like we would just sit and just run chaos in the San Andreas, but we would sit and see like how quick can we beat the story mode, how fast can we get CJ as buff as we can, you know what I mean? Like we would just do that stuff, and that's just a core memory for me. Like every time 4 is probably the one I'm the most disconnected with, even though it's the one I have a lot of the like high respect for. It's just probably the one I've played the least of, and it's the one I've never beaten. I've never personally beaten 4. So, but GTA squeaks its way in purely pretty much because of how good 3 was for the change they made in their games, being like the top down old school drive around type thing, to how different 3 was. And I guess San Andreas was just wild. Vice City was good, but San Andreas is like top for me in the older ones, and then 5 is just, they're just so good.
Yeah.
Rockstar, man.
GTA 6, man, it's coming soon.
It's coming. It's coming. We'll see.
I'm not even like the
490 gig game.
I'm not even the biggest GTA fan, but like I just have so much respect for the franchise. Like I really do.
Yeah.
Like it's just so much respect for it.
I feel like you have to.
Yeah, you have to. Otherwise, you're just either a hater or just fake. But what I will say,
Red Dead in there with them too, because of how good Red Dead 2 is.
Rockstar open world games, yeah.
I also never beat Red Dead 1, and I didn't play Red Dead Revolver, so
yeah.
But
what I was gonna say is like you just gotta love, like whether it's GTA or not, like any franchise, you just gotta love those games where you could just turn it on, and you just get so lost in it. You then like finally look out a window and you're like, hey, when did it get dark? You know what I mean? Like
right.
You gotta love those games. That like, it's just time just goes by. That's how I feel with Marvel Rivals right now. Like, I hop on and I just play. I'm like, all right, I'll hop on for like 2 hours, get some games in there, and then it's like 5 hours goes by and it's like dark outside. I'm like, well, that just took away my whole day. But yeah, it's really great. Good pick there.
Thank you.
Good pick. All right, moving on to my number 7. I just mentioned it. It's Assassin's Creed. This one, honestly, as much as I hate to say it, I could see this one lowering on my list eventually. I could even see it going out of the top 10, just because.
They're an honorable mention for me.
Yeah, I just.
That's the first one we've crossed so far, at least for me.
Yeah, so. I just. I haven't loved the game in the franchise in a long time. I really liked Odyssey. I think Odyssey was a fantastic game. But it's not like anywhere near like one of my favorite games ever. I think the last one I genuinely loved was Unity and Rogue, and they came out the same day in 2015 maybe. But here's the thing, is like it's still in my top 10 because of how much I loved them 2015 prior. Like, sure. We're talking AC1, 2, 3, Brotherhood, Revelations, Black Flag, Rogue, Unity. All those games are just, they're so, just, they mean so much to me. And you can ask one of my friends, Christian or Michael or whatnot. We loved those games so much, and they were so a part of our childhood. I know, crazy franchise being a childhood. They were so part of our childhood. When we were at recess in elementary school and middle school, we would call our friend group the Creed or the Brotherhood, and our symbol was like the little like that with like our hidden blades or whatnot. Like, we were such nerds, and it's all because of that game. We would always be like, yo, let's go parkour on the like play area out at the recess thing, because we wanted to be assassins, and it's so cool. And when you just every game has a new main protagonist outside of a couple. There are some like continuations, mainly just Ezio. But there's so many characters, there's so many different styles of it, there's so many different stories to be told. It kind of is a unique franchise in a way. It just means so much to me. It's very historic, and I mean, even though I haven't necessarily loved a lot of the recent games, I don't think there's very many bad ones. I just haven't loved an Assassin's Creed game in a while. I liked Valhalla. I didn't love it, but I liked it. I really liked Odyssey. I did not really like Syndicate.
One.
I did not like Syndicate though. But yeah, it's just I feel like that franchise has kind of reached the point that it'll never reach again for me. Sorry for the burp.
I hope Shadows is still good though.
Well, that's the thing is, I'm still excited for every Assassin's Creed. Like I will continue to play every Assassin's Creed as long as they keep giving it to me, and I'm sure I'll continue to enjoy Assassin's Creed. I just
some of the more recent gameplay that I've seen of Shadows looks.
Hey,
I mean,
it is looking
looks like it's gonna be fun. So
it is looking pretty solid.
It does look very Ghost of Tsushima-esque as far as like the UI goes, as far as like building up focus and stuff. That almost looks exactly the same, which I think is funny. But
but I think the reason I say Assassin's Creed might end up slipping my list at some point in the future is it fails to meet one of my criteria for being one of my top franchises, and that is it one of my most anticipated games every time a new one's announced? And the answer is just no. Now, like, in Assassin's Creed current state, I'm not, like, flipping out every time a new Assassin's Creed's announced. I'm not getting on my knees crying, whereas I think every other game on my list is, or every other franchise on my list is.
Sure.
But it's just too historic for me, and and I just love so many of them that it's really hard not to put it on the top 10 list. But as more time goes on, I could see. I don't want it to. I'm not saying like it's inevitable. I'm just saying it was hard to put it higher, which is never a good sign. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah,
I got you.
But I'll go with that.
All right. My number 7, I'm gonna lump in here. It's one that's thankfully been pretty silent so far. I think most,
silence.
Probably only a few of mine just probably won't get brought up. I'm gonna squeeze in the Skate franchise.
Cool.
I will say 2 is the hard carry for me for the entire franchise.
That's a fact.
3 is fun. There are things that I like in 3. I think the team creation in 3 is one of the coolest things about it. Like when you get to when you recruit the people, you actually got to create them and give them their own style and the way that they skated and the things that they like. That was cool. I thought that was a really cool aspect. I didn't like the goal in 3. Just sell your boards and then you're done. Like I thought the story was just like not just kind of empty, not really much to it besides like, hey, make a profit for 10 hours and then you're done. The story just felt so much more connected in 2. But the difference that it made in the franchise with the mechanics of it just not being like button and direction like the Tony Hawk games, even though I still love the Tony Hawk games.
Classic.
It was a different change of pace, and then the second one happened and you could get off your board, and that was cool because that was what Skate was missing, and then it gave you the ability to get off your board, and then it was so much better. And then they gave you the world and the city and the map of 2 and all the DLCs they had for that with like the monster competitions were just so good, and the spots and the camera angles and the way that you could do it, the outfits, the customization, the board customization stuff that you can do, it was all just so fun. The community of stuff that you can do when the game was popping, Skate 2, and you could like upload clips and watch your buddies' clips.
Oh yeah.
That that was like the one thing I loved about the like the game being accessible by multiple people, not necessarily that we have to play, but it's like, hey, did you see that hippie jump that I uploaded last night? And it's like, no, but I'll check it out when I get home. You know,
Yeah,
where did you do the hippie? Like that was the only game, Skate 2. That was the only game for me that like that kind of experience
I
happened
got you.
for me.
That makes
On
sense.
top of I could just sink all my solo time into it and be
A
done.
complete
So
community experience.
yeah, so
Yeah.
2 is the hard carry, but 3 and the original one obviously have their own respects for me.
I think for
Um,
me 3, the best part of 3 is the fact that you can build your own skate parks. I think that's really really cool.
yeah.
But no, I agree with you. Two is for me easily the best one. It was just the best time.
Yeah,
to
so
be a skate
good.
fan, it was awesome. Yeah, fire pick. What are we on? 6? Yeah, coming in 6th
Yeah.
place. I got Mortal Kombat.
Okay.
Again, when I look at genres, what I'm excited for, even though Mortal Kombat 1 didn't necessarily live up to my hype, my God, was I excited for it. And if a Mortal Kombat, I don't know what they would go to next, I guess 2. If Mortal Kombat 2 was announced, I would be just as hyped, even though 1 didn't live up. Mortal Kombat is just a one-of-a-kind franchise for me. It's my favorite fighting game franchise. It has so many things in it that I just genuinely can't find anywhere else. Like, Mortal Kombat is kind of like a cultural phenomenon in the fact that that is the one property that can release a new product where everybody who even relatively know anything about it will be like, what do the fatalities look like?
Right.
What do the x-rays look like? That's such a moment in time every time a game comes out. Like, you better believe there's going to be hundreds of YouTube videos reacting to all the fatalities, reacting to some of the x-rays, predicting what characters are going to make it in and stuff. And I just don't think you get that out of so many other games, let alone fighting games even. Mortal Kombat does have very specific things to it. When it comes to like gameplay, it's nowhere near the best fighting game. I'll say that much. For me, it's just the one I enjoy the most, like, and the one
Sure.
that I get most excited for, and I have the best memories for. Yeah, Mortal Kombat, super duper awesome. Sub-Zero is like one of my favorite characters ever. We talked about that on our character ranking. Go check that out, by the way. It's a fun ranking. But there are so many characters I love. And there generally is so many characters that are so cool and super awesome. This is actually okay. I might actually make a hot. Can I make a hot take right here?
Sure.
I think there are more. Hold on. I gotta say this to where I don't just immediately go up in flames. Okay, I think there are more well-known characters in Mortal Kombat than any other fighting game franchise.
I'd agree.
I think the biggest reason I don't think
Unless you count Marvel versus Capcom.
No, because that's using a licensed IP, so I don't know if I would consider that.
Sure.
But
that's what I said. Like, yeah, there's.
Well, yeah,
but...
that'd be really hard to compete with. But like, I do think the reason being is because Mortal Kombat has kind of expanded outside of games as well. But I do think like when I can name you 10 Mortal Kombat characters that like I guarantee you my mom knows. You know what I mean? Whereas I don't think I could do that with Street Fighter, Tekken, Virtua Fighter, like anything else. I guess Smash Bros, but like again, that's like kind of cheating in a way. You know what I mean? But like,
yeah,
a solely fighting game IP, I don't know any other franchise. I know I actually muted myself. If there's any other franchise that has so many well-known and iconic characters as Mortal Kombat.
Sure.
But
I'd argue Street Fighter probably being close.
Street Fighter's close. Street Fighter's. I don't think Tekken is. I don't think Tekken's even arguable.
Tekken. Yeah, probably.
I think for maybe hardcore
like
gamers,
the one
okay,
guy being iconic sort of stands up. I'd argue maybe Killer Instinct if you're like real deep into it.
Oh,
but
I don't know about that one. No, Street Fighter for sure.
Sindor? Fucking
Oh no, trust me. I love Killer Instinct. I'm not lying, but like if we're talking like how well known, if we're talking like how well known, what? Oh man. Okay. Wow.
All the voice lines are really muffled and right to the mic.
Oh man, super awesome, man. But yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm done.
What are we at? 6? Go ahead and do your number 6.
All right. So number 6, squeaking its way in just barely above its very familiar, similar IP at number 7, is going to be the Tony Hawk franchise. I did. Wow. I put 2 skateboard franchises back to back. Skateboarding was a big part of my life for a long time, actually. I used to skateboard every day on the regular for at least 4 or 5 hours a day. When I was a kid, that was like the way that I got my recreation. I eventually stopped riding a bike and just rode my skateboard everywhere. So skateboarding was a big part of my existence. The original Tony Hawk Underground is probably what originally made me fall in love with character customization. Because you got to customize your character, and then eventually you got to design your own professional skateboard, and that was really cool too. And then you were actually using your board in the game, and that was really cool. And the mechanic of being able to beat the game on a certain difficulty enough times that eventually it would let you skip the end game, like that was a really cool thing. It was also a skateboard game where you could get off your board. Guess what? But it was still like the Tony Hawk arcadey type style gameplay that was everybody knew and loved, just adapted into something bigger. Again, I think they did kind of gradually get a little bit worse as they went on, sort of past Underground. Underground 2 was okay for me. Wasteland was okay. Project 8 was fun. But then they did like the Ride game with like the little skateboard thing. I thought that was kind of weird. Going back and playing 1 and 2, the remakes of 1 and 2, humbled me a lot. I was not good at those games anymore when they came out. It took me a while to get my bearings back on those remakes. But that was fun. Still seeing that franchise sort of come back to life. I want an Underground remaster so bad. I would love to see the first, or just redo it. Like let's make the next, like let's make Underground 3, and let's make a nice next gen Tony Hawk game with like a nice developed story, character creation. Like, let's have a blast with a Tony Hawk IP again. But yeah, Tony Hawk games are gonna eke its way in there for me.
Yeah. Cool.
Sorry with my voice randomly. I'm randomly
You're
turning
good.
into somebody completely different.
You're good.
I guess that's actually been happening since like before Christmas. So that I don't know what's been going on. Randomly, I just all of a sudden have such a deeper voice and have to cough it out.
You're just that guy. You know what I mean?
I am.
All right. We're reaching our top 5s.
Yep.
And my 5th one is the one I was telling you is kind of cheating.
Okay.
But I think it's super valid, though. Because it's not... It's technically 2 franchises combined. But it all takes place in the same storyline, and it's the same universe. And that is the Remedyverse, which is Alan Wake and Control. Control and Alan Wake are in the same universe. They literally have crossovers. Their DLCs have crossovers with each other. Each of them lead into one another. It's just...
I think that's close enough.
Yeah, it's just 2 very separate, like... Actually, I wouldn't even say very separate. It's just 2 different games. Like, that's just it. But they all take place... Like, even the director is like, this is the sequel to Alan Wake, even though it's Control 2. You know what I mean? Like... They consider it one franchise, even though it's a different IP in a way. And I agree, because when I think of Alan Wake 2, I'm excited for Control 2. When I think of Control, I'm excited for Alan Wake. It kind of is just one body of work to me.
Sure.
Like the fact that I love Alan Wake 2 so much has me way more excited for Control, and it makes me appreciate Control way more. Just like last week, I played the Alan Wake 2, the Lake House DLC with my sister, and there is major Control 2 spoilers in there and teases, and I have this running thing, and I'm staying true to it. I'm about to say it again. Control 2 finna be a masterpiece. Mark my words, dude. The game has so much potential. Oh my gosh, dude, what they teased in the lake house honestly made my jaw drop. I was like,
really? Okay.
If this is what Control 2 is shaping up to be, oh my gosh, this is going to be insane. And so to me, it's just that whole idea of it's the same universe, it's the same story, just following two different characters. It just excites me, and I just love it. Like it is some of the best storytelling and some of the best concepts I've ever seen in a franchise, and I'm all for it.
Yeah.
And
okay.
yeah, I just love it. Yeah. So that's kind of it. I know it's kind of cheating because technically they're two separate IPs, but they're all connected and they're all the same.
That's cool.
thing.
Yeah. That's a close enough distinction for me, I think.
Yeah. So there you go. The Remedy verse.
Right.
Kicking off the top five.
I like it. Starting my number 5, we are going to go with a game that we've talked about. We've referred back to a couple of times today.
Sorry,
it's going to be the Halo franchise.
Oh! Hold on. Wait. Hold on.
Nope. Oh, he's got it. He's got the cover. Wonder which one
no,
it is.
No.
Oh, he's got V Master Chief. That works.
His name is
That
Mooster
works.
Choof because my thing is anybody with a big head has to have extra O's in their name.
Okay, fair enough.
Mooster Choof.
It's a rule I didn't know about you, but
Yep.
I embrace it. I embrace
Mooster
it.
Choof.
I embrace it. But yeah, 1 through 4 are just 4 games that are absolutely incredible games for me. I wanted to. I so much love having not love having the argument, but I want to stretch more love for 4 than 4 gets. I feel like a lot of people take just the original 3 and think 4 like deservedly belongs on the back burner, and I completely disagree with that. I think 4 for me, because of how good the story is personally, like ranks up there. But as a whole, like 1 through 4, I didn't like Wars or ODST or Reach or any of those really. Pretty much.
You didn't like Reach?
Pretty much, if it's not John's story, I'm not about it.
Okay.
For the most part. But I also didn't play 5, and I haven't played Infinite Story either. So I haven't even played all of everything.
Actually, I recommend Halo Infinite Story. It's a good campaign. I like it.
So I've heard decent things about it.
It's not like it's not like one through 3 level, but like it's solid.
Yeah, sure.
You'll enjoy it for sure.
Well, if I get if I ever get an X, like I said, I plan on probably getting the Master Chief Collection. So.
Oh yeah, it's a good one.
And then eventually getting Infinite.
If you ever get
well,
an Xbox, man,
playing them all over again.
Play Gears. It's a good series.
Like I said, I played 1 through 3. I just never played 4 or 5.
That's right.
I only enjoyed the story. I didn't like the multiplayer so much on Gears. I only enjoyed playing the story modes.
I feel that.
And I didn't have anybody personally that kept playing them after 3 really, because I didn't have an Xbox for a while, so I was already kind of disconnected from it. But yeah, so I'm gonna tuck the Halo franchise in there. 3 and 4 are my favorite of the series. Together, they're the ones I put the most time in.
3's definitely
because I do definitely love the story mode and the multiplayer.
Yeah.
I probably spent just as much time in the Forge on multiplayer on 3 than I did playing multiplayer. Probably I would the map where you could delete everything. I built so many maps for me and my friends, and me and my uncle used to play that game a lot too. And he'd always love when I build a new map, because I do the ones that had like the dropping fusion coils in certain spots, so you had to like stay away from those areas, or else you would just die from the fusion coils. So we'd always do like races. I'd build like race tracks and stuff through him too. Like it was just a blast. So that I think that properly belongs sort of tucked in the middle of my list here, I think.
Cool. Also,
Yes,
a side note, because I know we were talking about Shadows not too long ago. Did you hear it got delayed to March 20th?
I didn't actually know.
Yeah, it got delayed again to March 20th.
Oh no.
Which actually I think think it's a good thing because
I'm gonna have so many phone calls at work.
it was coming out the same week as Monster Hunter Wilds. And that's a recipe
probably
for
a good
disaster.
call then.
Yeah, it's a very good call.
That's the excuse. I'm glad you said that because I probably would. Well, I might have thought about it eventually by looking over stuff at work. But I thank you for immediately bringing that to my attention because that's exactly what I'm going to say to every customer that calls about it because I will. When they delayed it last time, we got like 20 phone calls over the span of like 2 weeks. Yeah, so what's the deal with?
Hey, you know what?
They just don't want to compete with Monster Hunter Wilds.
That's a good thing.
Oh, you think that's it? Yeah, that's probably what it is.
Because that's a good thing you say that because like I get it. Assassin's Creed, it's Ubisoft. It has a whole stigma.
Mm-hmm.
In the hardcore gaming community, yeah, it's a whole stereotype to hate on Ubisoft and everything. I don't think you realize how big Assassin's Creed actually is. Like in the mainstream, like just right media. Like Assassin's Creed is a huge franchise. Like to the casual fans. To people who don't even play games, Assassin's Creed is known for a lot of people. Like Assassin's Creed, like here's the thing. Assassin's Creed Shadow is going to be successful. It's just not going to reach Ubisoft's expectations. It's going to sell 10 million copies minimum. The problem is they're going to want 20 million copies, and I don't know if it'll do that. You know what I mean? Like Ubisoft is massive. It's just in the current state that Ubisoft is, it has way more weight on its shoulders than it should. But Ubisoft is such a high-selling franchise every single time. And a lot of people love it. It's just, in the hardcore gaming community, like, you know, casual people aren't 10 mil. Yes, 10 mil. It's just, to us gamers who play other RPGs and other open world things, it's like, okay, it's not meeting a, I guess, specific standard. But to a casual gamer, it's an open world game with some fun gameplay. It's exactly what they want to spend their money on. It's just, unfortunately, Ubisoft's in a really poor state to where they need it to be like a Baldur's Gate 3 moment, where it kind of just exceeds every expectation and every metric that happens. But yeah. What do you mean, wow, 10 mil, question mark, no way, Jose? You mean, are you saying, like, you don't believe me, like, Assassin's Creed sells that much? Or are you saying you don't think Shadows is going to sell that much?
I'm curious myself. So we move into year number 4?
Yeah.
He doesn't think Shadows will sell that much.
I mean, yeah, this one is very hard to predict because of just, like I said, the state of Ubisoft and the controversy. I do think it will get 10 million. I don't think it'll get it in like its first month, but I think by the end of the year it'll have 10 million copies, because especially when the holiday season hits and it goes on sale for like $30, I guarantee you it will. Yeah, Valhalla. Oh, actually, I don't know. Hold up. Valhalla sold 12 million copies in its first 2 months. That's actually kind of a crazy number, actually.
It is.
And regardless of the controversy, this has been probably one of the most talked about and anticipated Assassin's Creed games in a long time, because it is that dream game that everybody's wanted for a long time. It's just, unfortunately, like I keep on saying, I sound like a broken record. Ubisoft is in such a poor state. To the hardcore gamers, it's not going to live up to the hype almost no matter what. But I do think for that casual audience, like, I mean, just think about it. This game has gotten so much traction because it is Japan, because it is samurai, because it is, you know, that thing. But I don't know. I think 10 million copies is not a far stretch. I personally do think it will reach it. I just don't know how. I don't know if it'll happen within 2 months or not. Let's see. Oh wow, hold on. This is an interesting statistic I'm reading here. If this thing loads, which I don't think it is. Oh yeah, there we go. Wow. AC Valhalla I think sold 17 million copies in its first year. That's kind of insane.
Mirage apparently has only sold, well, this is 2024. January 2024, it sold 5 million. So in like
3 months. 3 months, yeah.
3.5 months-ish.
But that's also a spin-off, and it's a much smaller game.
Yeah, but that was, I mean, 250 million in revenue by that part, and now they've had a whole nother year to build off that, so...
Yeah.
Obviously, they made their money back on Mirage, so that's, you know, good for them at least.
Yeah, I'm reading here, Valhalla earned them around $1 billion.
It says 20 million copies sold.
At release. Yeah, I don't know. I think low-key, because of the controversy, people kind of underestimate how big Assassin's Creed actually is. Like, it's pretty massive.
AC is huge.
It is. I mean, just the fact that you said when it got delayed, you got like 20 calls a week asking about it. That kind of just shows you.
People care. There are people that are ready to play that game. Like there are some people that are still like very much on board. Like
Austin says, yeah, but but like the controversy and reputation can really hurt the sales, and Ubisoft Plus just makes me very skeptical, but I could be wrong. Ubisoft Plus, that's like a whole weird bag. Like I don't even know. I couldn't even try to explain how they measure those metrics or whatnot. But you say like the controversy and reputation can really hurt the sales. I think, I don't know. Again, to the gaming community, yes. I don't think to the casual community though, because I guarantee you, no people are not Twitter seekers like most of us or whatnot. They don't really hear about that. They may hear it from a friend and be like, yeah, I don't know. There's like this weird political controversy, but they're not gonna read into that. So I don't know. I do think. I think for me, I think it comes down to its quality. Like if it's just bad, then that word of mouth will spread more than its controversy. The controversy will be a big talking point leading up to the game. But depending on how good it is, to the much larger audience that is the casuals, the spread of word of mouth of it being a good or bad game is going to impact it more than anything. Because fun fact, when I beat Star Wars Outlaws, obviously we know how that game ended up. It ended up not doing it as good as people thought it was going to. When I beat Star Wars Outlaws, I posted like a little mini review on my Snapchat story. I got 4 comments on it. I got 4 people who barely messaged me asking if they think they should buy it because they are interested in Ubisoft open world games. they are casual of casuals playing those games. Like, they play GTA, they play sports games, and that's it. And they are asking me if they should buy it because they like the Assassin's Creed games or because they like the open world games like Far Cry and Assassin's Creed. I told them, if those are the type of games you like, you'll probably enjoy Star Wars Outlaws. And they bought it. That's exactly what's going to happen with Assassin's Creed. To the gamers, we all know the story of Star Wars Outlaws. We all know its success, its result. But to the casuals, they just want to know if they'll enjoy it or not. They want to know if it's a good game or not. And depending on what people, the word of mouth is, that's what's going to determine it. So we'll see how it ends up there. But all right, going on to number 4. I know we kind of went on a little side rant there, but
all good.
My number 4, this one has like shot to the moon up my list this year specifically. Like, I honestly can't believe how much I love it now. To the point where I could see this entering top 3 at some point. I mean, it's at 4, so it's really, really close. I just need a game to come out in the franchise that I love. Resident Evil. So, when I first played Resident Evil 2 Remake and Resident Evil 3 Remake, and the original Resident Evil 4, like on the GameCube or one, or like the HD, whatever. I don't know when the HD came out. I really liked those games. I thought they were really good games, but that was before I started like playing single player games like on a daily. Like, I think Resident Evil 3 was like the last time I played Resident Evil until Resident Evil 4 Remake. A lot of games have passed by then. I went back to Resident Evil 2 this year, and oh my gosh, I legit fell in love with it. Like, I absolutely...
The 2 Remake was really good.
I low-key fell in love with it. Now, here's what I'll say. I know you don't like it, and I completely understand the argument. I love Resident Evil 3. That's only because I haven't played the original, though.
I love the original. I don't like the remake.
Right, and I've done research on why people don't like 3, and it's because of all the cut content and all the changes that they made to the story and stuff.
Too much.
And I understand that. I really do. I haven't played the original, so I didn't really get that effect. To me, it was just a really fun, awesome game.
If you're ever, I highly recommend maybe like watching somebody do even like a no voiceover one. If you're ever into those, just watching someone play the story of the original 3, the Nemesis one, I highly recommend it. I think you'd get a kick out of it. It's very good.
Yeah. And so Resident Evil has really shot up, not only because I've replayed the games, I love it, but also horror has become like a top 3 genre for me. Like, anything survival horror, I'm just automatically sold on. Literally, it's that easy. Just announce you're making a survival horror game, bro, I'm in. Like it's that easy. What I said leading into it, I need a game to come out that I love. I fell in love with Resident Evil 2 and 3 because I replayed it this year. I always loved Resident Evil 4, but it wasn't one of my favorites of all time. I still love Resident Evil 4. I have yet to play 8, but I've heard good things. I don't think I would love 8, but I've heard good things, and I'll probably like 8 if I play it. I need a new one to come out that I can say, oh yeah, this is one of my favorite games along the lines of 2, along the lines of 3. And then I'll be like, okay, this might be a top 3 franchise for me. Because right now, it's past games. 7? Yes, I played 7. That was so long. That's one I need to replay as well. Because I played that, like 2017, whenever that came out. That was a long, long time ago.
Yeah.
But I need a new one to come out that I love for me to be like, okay, this is one of my favorite franchise. Like, this is a top 3 franchise of all time for me. Knowing that I can be excited for a new entry because I know I'm going to love it in a type of way, rather than a remake, rather than playing a past game for a second time. You know what I mean? And I do think Resident Evil 9 could do that. We'll have to wait and see. But no matter what, I love the franchise because of the genre, its characters, its story, its concepts, its world, its gameplay, everything about it is so great. I honestly can't believe I'm even saying this, because talk to me last year, I would have said, yeah, Resident Evil's good, but I don't love it. Complete opposite now. I freaking love Resident Evil, dude. Like, genuinely, it shot so high up there for me this year. So
I like it. Alrighty. Cool. So my number 4 is one that we've and I for sure have gushed about many times on this podcast. It's one that I've played recently, and you just brought it up earlier too, and it's the Horizon games.
Yeah.
Leaking its
Give it
way
the credit
into that
it deserves.
number 4.
The Horizon hate
number
is obnoxious. Let me just say right now.
I agree.
I hate the tweets.
I can understand.
Does anybody actually care about this franchise? Man, stupid comments, bro.
I do.
Stupid.
I
comments.
do.
They're not selling over 10 million copies for no reason. Stupid.
For sure. Yeah.
Such a L takes.
Yeah. No, for me, I think it's I can gush about it, man. They're good. Aloy is just, again, she's one of my favorite game characters of all time. It's one of the few games that are that big and expansive with so much to do that I'm not mad I'm not doing it with a created character. Aloy, like you have to have a really good character for me, for it to be that fun as a game that's that big. I feel like an industry plant, but I think Sony just really likes the franchise, and that's fine. I don't care. The people at Guerrilla, even if it is an industry plant, the people at Guerrilla are, and I'm sorry for the podcast, it's just the only way to appropriately say it, they're kicking ass at these games. They're so good. The games are good. The DLC expansions are good. The graphics are incredible. The music in it is extremely well done, in my opinion. Character development is great. The emotional parts are extremely emotional. The game's gorgeous just to play and look at and experience. It's frustrating in certain parts too. Certain parts are hard, like it'll feel like really easy and then it won't. All of a sudden you'll fight a certain machine and it'll be like, man, that wasn't as, that hasn't been near as easy as the rest of the game. And I just sort of like where it twists and turns, and they do it better with all of them. Recently played through both of them. I didn't fully play Forbidden West yet. I got through most of it. So I still need to finish it the second time. But yeah, Horizon for me.
All right, we're going to go into this because low-key, I'm kind of annoyed at this right now. Austin, can you please elaborate on that last comment? Horizon does feel like an industry plant, but I think Sony just really likes the franchise. Please elaborate on this. Because to me, that just sounds like you've read too much social media. We are about to debate this hardcore because that is such an L statement, purely based off social media posts.
I don't know if we got time for that.
We might. I'll just state my piece and then we'll move on. But I want him to elaborate on it because I don't want to assume anything. You know what I mean?
I mean, you should continue your.
All right. Well, then I'm just gonna assume what I'm just gonna take it how you said it. You think Sony really likes the franchise? No dirt. It was a new IP and it sold 10 million copies in its first year. What company wouldn't like that? Same thing's happening with Ghost. Ghost of Tsushima. New IP, sold over 10 million copies. Here we go. They're making more stuff. Awesome. Industry, I hate the term industry plant. Because to me, that term is kind of an excuse for something you don't like as much as other things is getting more success than it. So you're just going to come up with an excuse for why it's doing that. When in reality, I just think that's just due to its concept.
I'm just saying to have like 48 different games for it is insane.
Okay, so
There's 3.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say.
And one of them's just a small
Lego
VR experience.
Oh, I wasn't even thinking that. I was thinking Lego.
Oh well, yeah.
Like,
but that was Lego. That was Lego doing its own thing, though. They also put that game on Switch, so
you don't agree with them though. Okay, that's reassuring because, like, I generally hate that argument. Look, I love Horizon. It's not one of my favorite friends. I don't even have it as an honorable mention, but I love Horizon. But the way people act towards it just blows my mind. Again, it's almost giving me Assassin's Creed vibes, where it's bigger than people actually care to admit. Because, like I said, how are you going to make a new IP it do insanely successful, exceed every expectation for a business that their job is to utilize their IPs to make games? How are you going to criticize them for wanting to capitalize on that? I don't get it. And just because they do that, they do their job, people are going to call it an industry plant? Are we serious right now? Oh my gosh, they came up with such a cool concept. Robot dinosaurs and a girl who shoots a bow and arrow. Industry plant. Maybe there's just a lot of people out there who like that concept. You know what I mean? Again, it comes that Star Wars Outlaws, Assassin's Creed. A casual fan may not know the first thing about video games in the hardcore community, but they're going to see a really cool thing and be like, I want to do that. And they're going to go buy the game. And I feel like that's what happened with Horizon. Of course, we're not talking the most complex idea story like God of War or something, but maybe that's not what people are looking for. Maybe they're just looking for something really, really cool, and that is Horizon.
I mean, the story is actually pretty complex.
Hey, the story is pretty complex, actually. But Yakuza is more of an industry plant than Horizon by that logic? What? First of all, I'm not saying anything is an industry plant. And second of all, Yakuza has not sold more than Horizon. So, I don't know. That doesn't make any sense. But anyway. All right. Moving on. What are we on? Our top 3 now?
Yep.
So do you want to do honorable mentions real quick? And then we'll do our top 3, or...
I mean, do you want to do honorable mentions before top 3?
Define an industry plant then, Austin. Yeah, let's do honorable mentions.
Okay. Do you want to just like zing them off, or?
Yeah. So ones that I wanted to make my list, or at some point. Also, you read my thing wrong, but continue. What did I read wrong? You said low-key Yakuza is more of an industry plant than Horizon by that logic. That doesn't define a industry plant. So these are all franchises that I wanted to make my list or were in my top 10 list at some point, but by the Twitter logic, you didn't write that. How did I read it wrong? You didn't have Twitter in any of the other ones. And then got like pushed out of my top 10 because I thought of something else or I just changed my mind. Sure. And again, it goes to that idea of like, does it fit a criteria? And for me, it was the genre thing. So like sometimes there are two franchises in the same genre, and I'll choose one over the other kind of type thing. So I have Doom in it. I love Doom. It's super duper exciting. I have FF7 here. This is where I have FF7. I wanted it to be in my top 10. I just didn't feel right. Just didn't feel right.
Okay.
Pretty plain and simple. Devil May Cry is an honorable mention. Need for Speed. I was telling you about that the other day. It's just a feel-good franchise for me. And then Crash Bandicoot. is there because it's like probably my favorite 3D platformer.
It was a close call, Austin, for me. I'll be honest, but you'll see why whenever we get there. So yeah, honorable mentions for me. I'm gonna go with the Army of Two franchise. That was one that I loved the first and second one. The third one got pretty terrible, and then they just nixed it, but for good reason because the third one was pretty bad. But that was one that I loved. The Def Jam fighting franchise, Vendetta, Fight for New York, and then
I'm
Icon.
sorry. I was reading his comment. What was your first honorable mention?
Army of Two.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I was Vendetta was kind of hard. I wasn't very good at it, but I did like it. Fight for New York is like my favorite one. Icon kind of sucked. But again, Fight for New York is the hard carry for me. First one was good enough. Second one was so good. Elder Scrolls, I've got that as my mention on there because I played. I mean, I only played Oblivion and Skyrim, and I played some of the online one too. But I kind of throw that one in there. The Spider-Man franchise, because that's definitely a big one for me.
Okay.
Especially obviously starting from you could probably lump them all together, like the movie tie-in ones, even like back in the day were fun. But yeah, like starting from like 2018 Miles Morales and 2, lumping those all in together are games that I get pretty much the same enjoyment out of all of them. They're all very good. Yeah,
it's a good shout.
And then we mentioned AC earlier. That was in there for me. So.
Okay, cool. So yeah, there are honorable mentions. By the way, let me just clear air. I'm not mad at you or anything, Austin. I'm actually glad that you said this comment because it raises interesting discussion. That's honestly when podcasts are the most interesting, when there's like real topics to talk about.
Yeah.
But going into our top 3, one of these I'm pretty sure is on your list here. I think. We'll see. But kicking it off, top 3, I gotta go with Pokemon. Pokemon is, I mean, it's my childhood. I still love it to this day. There's so many games I love. There's so many characters I love. There's so many concepts in Pokemon that are just like so memorable to me. Like just throwing a Pokeball, have your little companions, creating your party, all that stuff. I think Pokemon is just so awesome. And this is one of the franchises where even though like a lot of the recent games haven't been like great, it's still a franchise where I'm just excited for every new entry because it's just a franchise that kind of never gets old in a way. It just, the quality ranges from bad to great, really. But this is also a franchise where you could take so many spin-offs, and I love all those too. I mean, we're talking Pokemon Stadium, Pokemon Snap, we're talking like Pokemon Dungeon, like we're talking so many games. And it's just such a great franchise. But yeah, Pokemon, I mean, it just has to be top 3 just because of the sheer amount of quantity. The amount I talk about it, the amount of times it's on any of like my top lists, whatever, it would just be wrong if it's not, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's gotta be, right. It's gotta kick off my top 3.
I like it. My number 3 is gonna be Pokemon.
Yeah, nice. I knew it.
Specifically the red, blue, yellow, gold, and silver era for me. Gen 1, Gen 2. For me are when they mattered the most to me. Probably the ones I put the most hours into for sure. I did play some of the off, generations sort of in between. I played a little bit of Sword and Shield when I had a Switch a good couple of years ago. But I didn't play too many of like the Switch franchises. I haven't tried Legends or Scarlet and Violet or any of the other ones. I do have an emulator. I'm playing through Black on my phone. Actually, right now I've been playing through Black on there, getting through that generation. That one's actually really fun. So I've been having a good time with that. Yeah, for number 3 for sure, Austin. Yeah, that's just where it belongs. I said Blastoise being my character for me that tops it all for me. I obviously I had to pop Pokemon in there, so we're just sort of on the same wavelength. A couple different reasonings behind it, but yeah, Pokemon deservedly.
It's just too big and there's too much to not, like it's just like I mean it's Pokemon. The whole world knows it. Like
truly.
Yeah. All right, coming in at number 2 for me. Nice. Actually, hang on. Coming in at number 2 for me is Metroid.
Nice.
This is
famous.
Metroid is my modern era favorite franchise. Like my current generation favorite franchise.
Blaziken's a good one.
Blaziken's freaking awesome. Gengar's my favorite. But yeah, I love him.
I would kill for a Blastoise Pop, but I don't think they've ever made a Blastoise Pop.
Yeah, I don't know about that. But yeah, Metroid is like my current generation favorite franchise because I'm late to the Metroid party. My first Metroid game was Metroid Dread. And I think that game is a masterpiece, and I absolutely love it. It's in my top 10 favorite games of all time. And that
my uncle really wants me to play that one.
And that was the first Metroidvania I ever beat. And because of it, I went and played so many other Metroidvanias, and now that is one of my favorite genres of all time. And because of Metroid Dread, I wanted to go play other Metroid games. And it just so happened Metroid Prime got a remastered, which is a completely different type of Metroid game, but it's still Metroid, and I love that game almost just as much. I like Metroid Dread a lot more, but I think both games are awesome, and they're both like some of my favorite games ever. To the point where it's at number 2 because I look at the facts here. Every game I've played, which granted isn't a lot, but will grow. Every game I've played has gone on my top 50 of all time list. Every time I talk about it or do a video on it, I get way more excited for upcoming games or want to go play it. Metroid Prime 4 is one of my most anticipated games right now. And it opened my eye to a whole genre. It opened my eyes to just a completely whole new way of looking at Nintendo, because Nintendo for me was that Pokemon, Mario, Zelda, and it kind of does like the whole Smash Bros thing, and there's a bunch of cool characters, whereas like Metroid, it's like its own Nintendo category, kind of like it doesn't feel Nintendo, but it is so Nintendo. like it really is like the black sheep of Nintendo, kind of, if you understand that term. To where you could see Metroid on a PlayStation, you could see Metroid on a Xbox, but it's just so Nintendo DNA'd that it just feels so right. And so every time, and like this is one of those franchises. I say it about a bunch of games. Sometimes there are games where every time I watch a trailer, every time I play it, every time I think about it, every time I talk about it, every time I hear it, it goes up and up on my list. That's how I feel about this franchise, not just game. Like every time I play it, every time I think about it, every time I just hear about it, it just goes up and up and up. I get more and more excited. I love it more and more and more. I feel more connected. And that's why it's number 2. Just because, like, I don't think I go a year anymore. Like, I don't think there will be a single year where I'm not going to want to play a Metroid game. I'm not going to be excited for a Metroid game. I'm not going to talk about Metroid. Like, every year now, Metroid is always on my mind throughout the entire year. And so, to me, I just think, like, it has to be top 3 for that.
I like it.
Nothing else is like Metroid, especially for Nintendo, to make it is crazy to think about. Yeah. Yeah, I know. Like it really is that black sheep of Nintendo. Like it feels like something anybody can really get into, because it is kid friendly, but at the same time, it's like you would think it's made for adults if you didn't actually play it. Like if you just looked at the cover of Metroid Dread or something, you'd be like, oh, this might be a horror game, maybe? Or you'll be like, oh, is this like a Halo ripoff or something? But then when you play it, you're like, oh man, it's just super fun gameplay, super cool looking like character designs, super cool world, some eerie music and stuff. And every game feels different. Prime is completely different than Dread. Prime 2 introduces a whole bunch of new things. All the 2D Metroids, there's like different abilities and different settings and different things, and the game design. Think about this, and not only that, but how great of a franchise Metroid is. Metroid 1, originally on the NES, came out. And then on the SNES, they made Super Metroid. Those were the first 2D games. Super Metroid was so highly reviewed and highly praised by everybody that the studio that made Super Metroid gave up the rights to Metroid because they did not think they would be able to create a better game than Super Metroid, which is why from the SNES all the way to the GameCube, there was no Metroid games until some studio decided to pick up the franchise and make a 3D Metroid game, which ended up becoming Metroid Prime, which ended up getting reviewed better than Super Metroid. Think about how crazy that is. Like, that is an insane story, and ever since then, we're getting four Prime games. We've gotten like 6 2D games. We've gotten multiple spin-offs, and it's still here. When the original studio gave up the rights because they didn't think they could make a better game. That's insane. That's such an insane story. Like, that's like a biopic. Like, it really is. Like, that's like a whole documentary, bruh. Like, it's just crazy. And you know what's even crazier? It's all just a woman in a suit of armor. It's really it. Shooting aliens. Something that you see everywhere. Halo. For thinking, I mean, there's so many things. Like, it's crazy. I mean,
it's all about how you do it, man. Execution.
Yeah. I mean, Samus is honestly just Barrett mixed with Master Chief.
Fair.
But anyway, yeah, Metroid, man, I absolutely love it. If my number one wasn't so dang good, Metroid would be number one.
Fair.
Yeah.
All right, man. So, my number 2. Final Fantasy VII.
Hey, there it is.
Yep.
I knew it'd be there.
I'm
surprised it's not your number one. Oh, no, I'm not. I'm stupid.
Everything that did its research, huh? Everything that did its
I just know that. I didn't even do research. I just know
did its justice for that franchise, as far as obviously the original game, and hearing about how cool that was, especially like learning about the story of it, that it was, just like a couple of like younger friends chilling in like an apartment, like making this game together, building this story together, taking things like, because I mean they'll admit it, anybody else will admit it, Final Fantasy VII, and even especially now with like the RPG ones like that, now that they're making with like the trilogy now with the remake stuff, like they're taking things that other games have done and they're making them their own, and they'll admit that, they've admit, we took inspiration to make the game from this game and this game and this game, and now they did all the interviews with the people of this one. It's like, yeah, we had heavy inspiration from like The Witcher and a couple of like other games. Like they're not afraid to sit and admit that they're just making a game that they want to make. And I get that out of every 7 title, whether it's the same people making it or a branch off of it. I just feel like anytime 7's involved, the passion behind someone working on a 7 project is wild. Obviously, I've heard some rough things about Dirge of Cerberus, Vincent's story, which is kind of unfortunate. I'll probably sit and maybe play that eventually. But everything sort of that co-aligns with where it is, as far as like Crisis Core, the original game, the remake trilogy, like has just really found its way into my heart and into my preference. And it's just so good. I've just found myself in the last 5 years, like really, like since the game's really dropped, with like the remake coming out finally, just really found its way into my heart, and I'm jelly of all the people that have loved it for 30 years. I wish I could have been a part of it a lot longer than I have been, and I don't say that much about stuff. So, yeah, 7's leaking its way into my top, sitting at number 2.
Hey,
For me.
I mean, I know it's an honorable mention for me, but I agree. Like, it is. I mean, if this was a top 15 franchises list, it would be on my list. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
I
Yeah.
love it almost just as much as all the other ones, but it just didn't make the cut. But no, I agree with everything you said. I mean, it genuinely just is one of the best for franchises. Period. Like, I know a lot of people are gonna say it's a hot statement, but that's because they just hear things like on the internet and whatnot. But like Final Fantasy VII made JRPGs mainstream. Like it did. Like, granted, yes, there are JRPGs beforehand, but none of them broke out like Final Fantasy VII did. Like, that was the one to get core gaming audience, Western audiences, on board for JRPGs. And to this day, it's regarded as like the JRPG because of that. So
It's certainly setting some standards now.
definitely has set some standards. That's for sure. And the remakes are setting more standards. It's kind of crazy just how that works. It's just crazy how a concept can do that. All you need is just an interesting concept.
Yep.
And boom, you're there. It's like Expedition 33. It's like, okay, they're trying to do Persona. But what really sets it apart is its concept. Like, I don't know if you've heard the concept of its story or whatnot. But
Not
it's
in depth, no.
such an interesting concept. Here, I'll go ahead and run through it really quickly. Pretty much, there is basically a, I don't know what you call it, like a clock, kind of. It's like a clock in the world. That clock will show a number every year. Every year it picks a number. Whatever number it picks, people that age will die that year. And so basically, every year a new number is picked, and every year they send what's called an expedition to go and stop whatever is causing this. And every year they fail. And so basically, I guess this is going to be the year that 33 is the number. They're sending an expedition to go stop it, and I guess that's what we're going to go see. So it's very interesting. Like, it's just a really interesting concept. But
It brings a little more clarity to why in the trailer he says 68 when they're 33, so that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And also, Austin said I did my research, and then I said I didn't do and I said I didn't do research, I just know it. And he then commented, "Yeah, I worked on the Super Metroid with the dev team, so I knew that." No, what I mean by that is, like, I didn't actively go out and find that information. I just heard it on like a video, and then like I heard like a documentary or something, and I was like, "That's interesting."
You just retained it, learned about the game.
Yeah. I just heard it and retained the information. But that's funny. Austin says, "Well, my Expedition 33 anticipation glazing continues as John explains the details." Hey, I feel that. I'm hoping it lives up to the hype. I'm hoping.
It does look really good. So.
All right. Numero uno.
Yep.
I mean, question. You know mine, right?
Franchise? I don't think so.
I think you do. I just don't. I think when I say it, you'll be like, "Oh yeah, that's right. That's right." It's Uncharted.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I've said it. I this is gonna be a crazy statement. I have a gaming and music channel. I have probably talked about why I love Uncharted more times than I've done music videos. And so, yeah, Uncharted is just my favorite franchise. I don't think anything will ever beat it because I just don't think it's possible to create a franchise like that in the modern era where every game in the franchise I consider a masterpiece.
It's Ape Escape.
Every game in the franchise I just think is a masterpiece. Genuinely, like I would give every game in the franchise a 10 out of 10. Even its spin-offs, I would give 10 out of 10. I just it's just such a simple concept, but the execution is just on point every single time. And it has my favorite character arc of all time, which is very important for a franchise. It has like just so many of my favorite elements in any franchise, and it's one of those franchises where like I have a favorite game, but not like one of those games is like a top 10 games of all time for me. It's the combination of all of them that makes it what it is. You don't get Uncharted 4 being as special as it is without 1, 2, and 3. You don't get 1 being as special as it is without seeing where it ends up going. Because then you look back and it's like, man, the groundwork that they set here is just phenomenal. To me, when you play 1 through 4, it is one of the most perfectly told stories, period. And what's crazy is that I don't think anything could top it for me, just because it's just the way I connected with it. I mean, Uncharted is one of the most reputable franchises of all time. Not even just my opinion. Like, there's so many people who think that, and that it's just because of its quality. Like it just nails execution every single time, and it is so good. The worst thing Uncharted has ever done is the movie, and that's so yeah. But Uncharted is my number 1 franchise, and it probably always will be, just because it's hard to, once you have a number 1, it's just really hard to beat the number 1. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
All right. My number 1. You ready?
I'm ready.
Slime Rancher. No, I'm just kidding.
That would be Christian, for real. Oh my gosh. Bo Glaze's Slime Rancher so much.
Just Splatoon. Anyway, mine's it takes the top spot for me in games. It takes the top spot for me in franchises. 1 being the hard carry. I like 2 well enough. 2 is actually still really good. 3 fell off a little bit, but I still enjoyed it. It's the Fable franchise for me. It just wins. The extended edition of the first game, because I didn't play the extended edition the first time I played it. I played the regular game, and then my buddy was like, "Did you play the Lost Chapters?" I had no idea what he meant. And he lent me the edition of the Lost Chapters. I played the game again, and it just put it in a whole, like, there are things that are missing from it that I almost demand out of like certain games now. It's not open world necessarily. Like, right. It is, but it isn't. It's like linear,
like open zone. It's like it's just like explorable areas, really.
Sure. Like, yeah. So I mean, I guess you would kind of call it, because I mean, like there's off branches, like 3 different directions, like everywhere you go.
It's like a scaled down FF7 Rebirth.
Kinda, yeah.
Very scaled down.
But it's not like, but you are restricted to the paths
right
that you're on. There's no, like, I can't hop the fence and venture off into the forest.
True.
Yet, we'll see what the new one looks like.
Hey, bro, that new one.
Right. So, we'll see. But yeah, I, without getting, into it too much, the first one just being, just everything to this day that I want out of my favorite game, the first one still delivers. Even playing the anniversary edition wasn't as good as just playing the original.
I need to go back
Xbox
and play it.
Lost Chapters
I haven't played
one.
it in so long.
I highly recommend it.
I need to go back.
I'd probably recommend just doing the anniversary one now at this point. Just playing it all like redone and whatever.
I'm gonna do it before the new one comes
plus,
out.
I bought the anniversary edition. It was really rough. I'm sure it's been patched to work a little bit better. So that'd probably be a different way to go about it at this point. Plus, obviously, it does look a little bit better. But the original experience of beating the first game, Lost Chapters, sitting on my own, it was the first game like that I really played, because I was just a big sports game guy growing up. The second one added a couple of different things I liked, with like the dyes, the customization stuff on there. that it did with it that you can do with your character, how your choices really had consequences to it. Like, that was starting to be a bit more of a. I'm sure there were plenty of games that probably did it before, but like in my direct circles, that was the first time that had really been introduced into my world. Is that kind of thing where like your choices mattered to what you did late game or in game. I just really, honestly, if they would have put armor into, it would have been like a whole point higher. I don't know what. There's not one piece of armor in like the entire 2. You're just wearing clothes that provide stat boosts. So like that was like a weird weird kind of like Mass Effect that I have between like 2 and 3. They're both stories are like really good, but 3 just has like nitpicky things. Fable 2 is kind of the same way. There's just nitpicky stuff that I don't like that I wish they would have done different. But and then 3 is kind of a nightmare a little bit. 3 felt a little rushed and just kind of I didn't love it. There was really no good. Like I get there's like a medium and a bad ending, but like nothing's good at the end of Fable 3. It's all just bad. And that's kind of the genre for some games. But if you're gonna have a bad ending, let that be the ending. Like, our games just end bad. You know what I mean? Like this is how it's gonna be. It's like Cyberpunk. Pretty much the ending of most endings of Cyberpunk are pretty awful. As far as like for the heart, you know what I mean?
See, that is one thing I've heard a lot of people question is there going to be you can either play evil or you can play good in Fable. Everyone's been questioning if they're going to do that.
Is there going to be the morale thing?
Yeah.
Or because you're already taking on the role of hero, like because it seems like the start game is established hero, or are they just giving that perspective cinematically, where it's like so, but then again, like they're only giving one side of it. They haven't given a cinematic side of it where it's like, this person was awful. This person was terrible. Like everything that they've given so far has been somebody being interviewed about heroes. So it's almost like driven towards that you have to be positive and you can't be negative. But again, that's all we've seen are cinematic stuff. We don't know yet.
Here's what I'm gonna say, which I just realized I cannot wait for the podcast when we do get that Fable Direct and we get so much. I cannot wait for that podcast. It's gonna be such a good podcast.
I'm sure I'll have plenty to say.
Oh yeah, but what I will say is we might debate on this a little bit because we kind of disagreed on it earlier with FF7 Rebirth. What I don't want from Fable is it to be no, not even that. Is the main story to be like 50 hours long, 40 to 50 hours long.
I do.
See, that's what I don't want. I would rather a 20, 30 hour story with a ton of side content and a ton of extra stuff rather than the main story be bloated.
I want 100 hours. I want 50 on each.
See?
Give me a 50 story, 50 hours of side content. Blow me out of the water, Playground Games.
Hey, you know what? Playground Games would be those people do it because, I mean, all they've made is open world games, technically, if you count. I mean, Horizon is open world, so
Forza games are huge, from what I understand.
Oh, they're massive. I mean, you have to drive a car 100 miles per hour across an entire map, and it still takes you like 30 minutes to do it. I'm trying to think of what I was gonna say would be a hot take. I'm sorry. I don't know. I don't know how to respond to that. Yeah, I don't know. Fable is interesting because I don't know. There's just a lot riding on it. But no, I agree with you. I mean, Fable is a game I love. And if this one is, I wouldn't say just as good. That's gonna be really hard to do. But if it hits, I could see Fable being like one of my more liked franchises.
Yeah,
for sure. But yeah, I guess that is it for the ranking. We are done.
Yeah, good list, good pod.
Very good list, good pod. We got a lot done. We're gonna have to
stick around next week for the Rebirth podcast.
Yeah. I actually need to start making a list of topics because I know you've had some topics.
I keep meaning to, because they'll come to my head and I'll think about it, and I keep meaning to just text you, but I need to just make a note or something in my phone myself for when I have ideas like that.
So I'm actually gonna start making a little list right here. So we need to do FF7 Rebirth Extended. And then I was just thinking about one.
Well, that's the best part, Austin. It's just like going back and playing Fable multiple times. You play all of them to get all the endings. All the endings, all the gameplays. I hope there's replayability more than just twice. I hope they give you 4 or so different reasons and ways and directions to play this game.
For everyone wondering what we're talking about, Austin put in the chat, between a hero and a villain role, I feel like I would rather play the hero or anti-hero role. I just feel like villain won't be as interesting or captivating. And you see, that's the great thing about Fable, is you can do that. You don't have to worry about playing the villain at all. You just got to choose what you want to do and play how you want.
If they give you the option.
Yep. And what's so great about the original Fable is no matter which direction you want to go, the game makes you feel like that is how you're supposed to do it. In a way, like, because they just execute on that very, very well.
Literally they execute. There is an execution at the end of the first Fable.
But
there's not.
Yeah. But hey, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. I'm excited.
We hope so.
All right. I don't know the next time you'll be on a podcast, Jordan. I guess we'll have to see. I mean, it might be that Rebirth Extended. Who knows? Who knows? I don't know. We'll see if any other topics pop up that you feel interested in doing.
For sure.
But yeah. I appreciate you being on the podcast. It wasn't quite 5 hours, but it was like 4.
Bit lengthy, yeah. It's all good though.
It was 3.5. We're at 3.5 right now. Is where we're at. So
yeah, it's not too bad. It's not too bad.
But yeah, we covered a lot. Enjoy continuing playing all your games that you're currently playing through.
I've got like a little second wind pep going. I'm gonna sit on the couch for a minute to see if that winds down. If not, I guess maybe I'll play Mass Effect for an hour or so maybe. But
I'm going to go play Marvel Rivals if the servers are still up. If not, I'm gonna work on my Game Awards, and wait until Season 1 drops.
Sounds good.
So I still got a long night ahead of me, but anyway.
Sounds good.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you, and I will see you. Well, I mean, I'll see you here in a second when I end the stream, but
sure.
We will be on the podcast again sometime. But
till next time, guys. Thanks for hanging out.
Later.